Hi guys, welcome to Diary of a Young Mum. I'm Cindy, your host. Let's talk about it. So Romanah, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're just going to get straight into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so talk me through your journey with motherhood. Talk me through what age you had your first daughter, and I'm aware that you have a son as well.
Yeah.
But have you recently had him?
Yeah, so I had Rain when I was 24.
Okay.
Just got married. She wasn't planned. We just got married, and then here she come. Found out I was pregnant. I was absolutely buzzing, really, really, really happy, and super excited. I think she came at a time when we just got married, but it was a shaky time because my mum had recently just come out of a coma.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a little bit like we didn't really get to have a honeymoon because our honeymoon was cut short with like the sickness of my mum.
Yeah.
So when we got pregnant with Rain 4 weeks after that, it was just like the lift that the family needed. Like the light at the right time, if that makes sense. So yeah, got pregnant with Rain, had her at 24, 25. She was really easy. She was just like the dream baby. She come and she didn't rock our world too much. You know when you have a baby and you feel like your world's gonna be completely rocked. Rain kind of like fit into our schedule, and she was very much like easy child that was able to do that. So had her, and then a year or so later, fell pregnant again unexpectedly.
Oh, so you just wasn't messing about, was you?
No, but this is the thing, right? God works in crazy ways, Sin, because when I fell pregnant with my son, I'd just had a miscarriage before that.
Okay.
So we were kind of like, okay, we'd miscarried. Maybe it wasn't the right time to go again. And we were very much like, okay, let's kind of wait. 4 to 5 year gap when Rain's in school. Great. Had a situation where the contraception didn't work for me, and Malachi just came out of...
Can I ask what contraception this
Oh my
was?
life. So we had a bit of a accident, and I had a morning after pill.
Yeah.
That just failed on me. The morning after pill said, see you later, bye.
Nah.
Didn't work, Sind. And the crazy thing is, I didn't feel to check, because it was just like, okay, cool. Like, we had a little slip, sorted that out, life keeps going. And then about a couple of weeks in, I said to my husband, I don't feel 100%. And Sind, I'm terrified at this point, because I'm thinking, if this is baby number 2, my world's going to be rocked.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be rocked. I wasn't prepared for it. We weren't ready. It was just wild. So tested. But you know when you're testing, you know. You test and know before you need to look. I definitely knew I was pregnant. Anyway, went for a scan, and I was 7.5 weeks in.
No way. That's crazy.
7.5 weeks in. What is this child doing? Just thought, I knew God had sent him at that point. But had a weird journey with the pregnancy of Malachi, because experienced heavy bleeding and thought I was miscarrying again. Went into the hospital to get checked, and they confirmed, sorry, another miscarriage. So we kind of like mourned the loss.
Wait, hold on. So Malachi, is that right?
My second child,
your second child. They said that you lost him.
Lots of heavy bleeding, and they were like, I'm unfortunate, it's another miscarriage. And I was just like, okay. Me and my husband literally like mourned the loss. Like, okay, cool. Sat with it. And then a couple of like weeks after, I'm like, I still feel like I'm pregnant, but I don't know if you've experienced a miscarriage before. Sometimes they can be like, you can still feel the symptoms of pregnancy whilst your body's shedding. So I was just like, okay, maybe it's just that. Maybe, do you know what I mean? I just go with the flow. And then the morning sickness persisted. Yeah. And I was like, something's up here. So went for another scan, and they were like, this baby is bouncing and moving, and look on the screen here.
That is a miracle.
Oh my God. My emotions at this point are just like, Lord, I surrender it over to you, because I don't know what this pregnancy is trying to teach me, but I surrender it over to you. So still very much in a phase where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do too. So I remember calling on my village to support, like mentors that I had, or older sisters, so to speak. Like, guys, how do you do too? Because I'm in this situation. We didn't plan for this to happen, but here we are. What does it look like? to try to get as prepared as we could, Sind, but still, there's not really no preparing when you have kids, right? You're literally just learning on the job. So, yeah, fast forward, Malachi arrives into the world, had a water birth, planned to have this beautiful water birth, and I did. And then an hour or so into him being alive, the midwife's looking at him like, he's not breathing right.
No way.
Like, okay, we're not really liking how he's breathing, and we're not liking that he's not taking to breastfeeding, like, instantly. And he's crying weirdly. So he's like, okay, cool. So she's examining him, looking at him. She's like, I'm going to put a crash call in to the intensive care doctors just because I want a second opinion. Lovely black midwife that I had, who I trusted wholeheartedly in the moment. So she's put a crash call in, and scariest crash call, about 7 doctors come within like 20 seconds, and I'm not even joking. Crazy. All surround him, and then it was like, right, he's gone. So after that, they just took him. And they were like, okay, Mom, obviously you can't come because you've just given birth. You've still got to have your stitches. Dad, you come. So in that moment, it's literally like, okay, my son's gone. Om's gone. I'm here. What is happening to my son? So I just remember looking at my mom, and she was like, everything's going to be fine. Like, God's in control. He'll be cool. He'll be back in a bit. And it's like an hour since, like, okay.
No baby back. You haven't heard anything at this point.
Haven't heard anything. So I'm absolutely... I'm myself, like I'm really scared at this point, and I'm also thinking, okay, this God that is in control, I don't feel like he's in control right now. Like my emotions were absolutely all over the place. So 2 hours in Sind, still no Malachi. And then the midwife had come down to say, look, we had to put a crash call in because he wasn't breathing properly. So he's in intensive care at the minute, just getting seen to by the doctors. Hopefully everything will be fine. And at this moment, you're still not thinking the worst. You're literally just thinking, oh, okay, cool. He's probably just being seen to. They'll bring him back in a bit. And then it was literally like, we need you to get ready because he's not coming back here. He has to stay in intensive care. So you need to get ready, just discharge yourself and go up to him.
This must have been a lot. So like, you've just given birth and...
have that. Yeah. So now I'm thinking, okay, it's bad. Like, if he hasn't come back in a couple of hours, he's probably really, really sick. So I remember going upstairs to the intensive care ward, and at this point they've got him intubated in the cot that they have on NICU ward, and he's got the ventilator and things like, oh my God, I just broke down. I don't
know how I would deal with that.
Like, honestly. Even talking about it now, I was finished because I just was like, you have this idea in your mind that you're going to give birth, then we're going to recover, then we're going to go home, happy family, and it was just like, it wasn't that. And I remember looking at him and seeing flashbacks of when my mum was in a coma. And I literally looked at my brother who had come to see him at the time, and I was like, I can't do this again. Like, I can't do this again.
Did you feel like it was traumatising?
Do you know what? I just felt a little bit like I don't have the fight left in me. Yeah. Like, at that point, my fight was done. Like, you've come to the end of pregnancy and you're already knackered. You're already tired. Yeah. Then you've got to do the whole birthing process, pushing, all of that. I was just done, Sind. Yeah. So to go upstairs and be like, okay, this is a new battle now.
So now you had like another episode of something else. Birth itself is something, and then it's like this.
Something else again.
It's like, how much can I handle?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just remember my mom saying to me, you've now got to be strong for him so that he can pull through. It's not about you anymore. Like, and when you become a mom, you give up yourself, right? We become selfless. Yeah. But in that moment, the only thing that was keeping me like alive was knowing that I might lose my son if I don't pull myself together. So have your tearful moment, pull yourself together, get it out, and then get next to that cot and let him hear your voice. Because something's going to have to pull him out of where he is, coupled with faith and prayer and literally sacrificing the situation over to God. I didn't leave that cot bedside, and we were there for 2 weeks.
No way.
I didn't leave. And I remember like midwives being to me like, Mom, do you want to go home and freshen up and come back?
He was like, there's no chance. I'm not leaving my baby.
I'm not leaving. Yeah. I've seen too many horror stories where nurses in NICU ward, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Medicines, no, Sind, I was not playing. Yeah. Like, I'm going to stay at his side until he pulls through. And that's absolutely what I did. Whether we needed to shift change between me and my husband, I'd be there, and then he'd come and swap and do it with Rain, and we'd just make it work. But it was just the most traumatic time of my life. Yeah, horrible.
So, did your oldest, what's her name? Rain. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been seeing Eloquent Dance.
Yeah, she's so killing it.
No, honestly, she's so cute. I need to meet her in person. I really do. But did she see the baby at any time in the hospital?
So you know what? That's a really good question, because when he was attached to all his tubes and stuff, I said to I don't want her to see him like this. Like, I don't want her to come to the hospital and be like, that's my little brother, and be like, why is he attached to all of these wires and stuff? And then we kind of decided that it would be good for her to see him, and it would be good for him to hear her voice.
Okay,
because throughout the whole pregnancy, she would speak to his belly, hi, little brother, da-da-da-da. So I just thought, you know what, let's just bite the bullet and do it. So she came to see him on day 2 of him being alive, and it was like, what's he doing in there? Like, what's going on with him
curious,
in there?
like, what's going on,
and wanted to pull out wires, and we were like, Rain, no, come on. But I just feel like he needed it. He needed to hear her voice. At the time, he was literally like limp, so he wasn't able to move and stuff. But there was just something about them being back together that I felt like helped his healing journey, to be honest. So yeah, she did see him. She didn't really understand, but she understood in a way.
Yeah. So now that baby's well and baby's good and thriving, do you still feel like some sort of pain when you know, think about that situation? Or like, okay, so if I was in that situation, honestly, big up you, Romanah, because it would take a lot of strength, even just to witness it. Yeah. But like, I don't even know what to say. Like, this is that.
Yeah.
But do you feel like any sort of pain, like, or when you look at him, do you think of, you know, that moment and that experience? And when you think of that experience, do you feel like an actual physical pain? Because I can imagine that type of pain.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And I think in the early stages of him being here, it was really hard to just adjust to the fact that he's okay now. So any little thing would be like, heightened, like, can we call 111? He's sneezed.
Yeah. Do you think you had anxiety?
Oh
or
my
do you
God,
do you have anxiety
100%, 100%. And I think when you come out of giving birth, the midwives and doctors always check, are you well? Are you feeling happy? How are you? What's your mood like? And it wasn't postpartum depression that I was experiencing, but it was postpartum anxiety.
Wow.
And it was like, there was no conversation about that. Like, when you've come out of intensive care and it's very like, it's intense up there. It's super intense to the point where adjusting to just being at home was a little bit like, I don't really know how to adjust to this season without losing myself and without losing my shit as well.
So, do you feel anxiety when you're away from him? How do you deal with that?
I did.
You did?
Now
okay.
It's better. Now that we're 9 months in, it's way better. But in the initial stages, I didn't want to leave him with anyone. And I mean, even my own mom was a little bit like, I'm not leaving him. I'd drop him off and I'd stay. And she'd be like, am I having him? Like, yeah, you can have him.
You're having me too.
But you're having me as well.
Yeah.
So the anxiety was absolutely wild. And I think I recognised it. And I was like, I need help. I definitely need help, because navigating it on my own, I couldn't quite figure out what to do. Yeah, I was at a loss. So when I spoke to, you kind of have your checkup with the doctor. I spoke to the doctor and they were like, oh, you know, sounds like postpartum depression. We can, you know, give you these tablets, or we can assign you to this therapist. And I was like, you're not getting it. It's not postpartum depression. Like, I very much know what that is. And I think I experienced it with my first child. It's not that. It's more anxiety. And I know that I want therapy for it. And it was like, well, yeah. So in the end, I sacked off NHS and I just went private. And it has just been life-changing. Yeah. And I think it just kept me sane, Sind, coupled with leaning on God. Therapy gave me like practical tools to put in place to not overwhelm myself, if that makes sense.
It's great that you invested in that, because it could have taken you to a different route, if that makes sense, if you didn't.
Yeah, 100%. I almost feel like I don't feel like I would be alive if I didn't.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't feel like I would be alive. And I know that sometimes that can sound wild, but I think when we realise we need help, some of us don't ask for it quick enough. Like we sit in it and the situation can get worse. Yeah. But I think I recognised that I needed the help, and I was like, I don't feel like myself. I don't know how to navigate this next season of my life. I need God, but I need professional help because faith without works is dead. So whilst I've got the faith that I can pull through, I need that works to kick in as well.
Yeah. So in terms of your anxiety and dealing with your anxiety, would you say if you didn't deal with it, it would have bled into other things such as your business, such as your relationship, with family and friends and your children?
So it was.
Oh, okay. So what was going on?
It absolutely was. I think, I don't know, I feel like anxiety can lead into so many other things. So becoming a mom, again, you've got to figure out a new level of confidence. It's like figuring out who you are again. So I definitely could feel that it was attacking my confidence to just be and to just figure out this new season of life. And then I quickly could see how it could fall into depression again, Sin, because anxiety, you literally just
Anxiety is not a joke.
Everything's through the roof. And sometimes it could be the smallest of things. And I was just making it the biggest of situations. So therapy has definitely taught me to just manage that and not catastrophize so much. So that's one thing I was doing. I was catastrophizing a lot because I'd seen my son being born to being so sick in a space of 2 hours. It was the worst. I was always expecting the worst. So if he'd cough, it was we need to call 111 or this is happening.
It was with every little thing.
Every little thing, Sin was being blown out.
It almost took over, didn't it? And controlled you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And coupled with that, he had colic as well. So coming out of hospital, he was just crying so much. And I didn't experience that with Rain. So it was okay, I know that he's adjusting, and his adjusting looks a little bit different because for the first 2 weeks of his life, he was on a drip.
Yeah.
So he wasn't feeding.
Okay.
So it's only until the latter part of being in hospital, he started breastfeeding, and then the discharge just to come home. But the feeding was an issue because it was he's getting used to that. His digestive system's getting used to that too. Sleeping was an issue. It was just a whole issue. When me and my husband speak about that time of life now, we're I don't even remember it. It was a blur. You literally...
Did it feel like you was there, but you wasn't there?
Yes.
Yeah. I had that feeling. Yeah. So with my first son, nothing serious like this happened, but just the first couple of weeks when I gave birth, I was like, oh my gosh, I've given birth to a baby. I've got a whole baby.
Yeah.
You've got family oh, he's cute. They're passing him around and stuff, the normal.
Yeah.
But I was there, but I wasn't there. I was in another world. Would you say that's kind of what you experienced?
100%.
Yeah.
I remember being in the room so many times and I'm literally thinking of everywhere else to be but in the room.
Yeah.
Everywhere else to be but in the room. And I think the more family gatherings that we were having is the more anxiety I was feeling because I just didn't really want to be around anybody.
And it's probably because everyone was coming to see the baby, wasn't it?
Everyone's coming to see the baby. And then this is the question, Sind, how was the birth?
Yeah.
And I just was I don't really want to explain the trauma I've just experienced to 15 different family members in the space of 2 weeks. That's too much. So what I actually did was you know what, guys, we're not having any visitors right about now. You'll see him in a bit. And coupled with that, the doctors were also no visiting or touching or kissing him for at least 6 weeks, just because we don't want him to regress and end up back here. Because you know how it is with babies, when they get sick, they get really sick because they're so young.
Yeah, they've got weaker immune systems as well, don't they?
So I just didn't want to chance it. So I kind of was no family gatherings and just close family, and yeah, stuck to that, to be fair.
So did anyone take offence to that or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So tell me the mix.
They did, but you know when you just get past the point of caring.
Yeah.
I think when you're in a bit of I call it I was in a dark space. When you're in a dark space and just coming out of, I had PTSD as well. I was having flashbacks about being in intensive care. I just didn't really care to offend anyone else. If you're offended, cool. This is what we need to do just to survive this period. And when he's big and when he's strong, you can have him all day if you want. But in this season of life, we just need to be careful. So I didn't care, Sind.
So how was it when it came to yourself? was you eating and stuff normally, or would you say you no?
Good question. I feel like, have you breastfed?
Yeah.
You're just drinking. You're so damn thirsty.
Breastfeeding takes all your energy.
All
it
of
takes
it
all your,
zaps it.
like,
yeah.
It drains you out, doesn't it? And you feel so weak. And the worst thing to do is to breastfeed and not eat. You need the food.
Yeah.
It's almost like fuel. You know, you have a car and you have fuel. And if that fuel runs out, you've broken down. Like, you're not going nowhere. Yeah. It's that.
I remember drinking a lot, but eating was kind of just like when I could find the time, you know. And then you also just felt like out of shape, and it's like I just feel big already. I've got all of this extra belly to lose. You just can get into a spiral of not really practicing self-love. And I've definitely been there, where you attacking yourself rather than giving yourself that grace.
And whilst that's going on, you're also focusing on the baby and their needs, aren't you? And you almost forget about yourself. But what people forget is that you need to focus on yourself. Focusing on yourself, it is as important as focusing on the baby, because they're feeding off you, aren't they? They're feeding off your energy. They rely on you emotionally, physically, mentally. So if you don't look after those things, it's going to filter into them, even though they can't physically speak and stuff. Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Listen, I think the main driver for me, figuring out that, like, okay, the anxiety is present, these different things are present, and I want to rectify them. I don't want to rush myself out of a healing process, but I've got a responsibility to be well for these kids, and also myself and my husband as well. But I've got this other daughter as well that didn't really ask for this brother to come along and mash up her whole dance. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, you've also got to make sure you don't forget about her in the process. So while my son was in intensive care, I'd made sure I did the nursery pickup.
Okay, so that's one thing that you made sure.
One thing that I was like, I've got to do. I've got to leave the hospital, get out, see daylight again. Oh my God, that feels amazing. Let me go and do nursery pickup, just so that Rain feels a sense of normality in the midst of it all. Did nursery pickup, brought her back to the hospital, so it still felt a little bit unusual, but it's keeping those little things that allow her to be like, okay, I've still got my mum in all of this. Yeah.
So what was going on with your dance school at the time? So I'm assuming you've got people running different parts 100%. Of the dance school. You've got a whole team, haven't you?
Yeah.
But what was going on? So, like, your role that you play in the dance school, what happened with that? And during that period of time.
Good question. So I didn't really plan for Malachi's birth to go how it went, and I also didn't plan for maternity leave.
Okay.
So I planned for like 4 weeks out, and then I'd be like, right, I'll be back after a month. But that didn't happen. Like, because of how he arrived into the world and how it just shaped up the family dynamics, it meant I had to take longer. So where I'd originally planned to be back and on the ground doing certain things and back teaching as well, looking back was just unrealistic. So luckily we do have an incredible team and other choreographers and operational staff that could step in and pick up the bits that I'd be doing. But there was still a sense of me trying to rush back to work. A massive sense of that, like, okay, I feel like I'm not productive and I feel like I'm missing out. A bit of FOMO, like, man, chill out. You've just had a baby. You've got another child. Just take your time. But I think looking back, my identity was heavily placed in what I did and wasn't in who I was.
Okay, yeah.
Heavily, like...
And that's why you felt that feeling?
Yeah, okay, and it was something I needed to check. So as I was feeling it, I didn't like it. Like, why are you trying to rush back? Why are you trying to rush yourself out of this season that you're in now? And when I noticed it was an identity being attached to what I'd done, it was then a whole process of focusing my therapy to bring my identity back to who God says I am, rather than...
So this went really deep then, didn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I almost look at the birth of my son of being like a rebirthing of me as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like even down to his birth, I'm like, God authorized it. God authorized pain. Like, this season was authorized pain to just bring things back into realignment, you know, Sin. I think we can get so busy doing the doing that sometimes we forget about the core of who we are.
Oh, of course, 100%.
Like, we are not what we do. We are who God says we are.
And it's important that we remember that, because it will affect us, won't it? And it will affect
100%.
things around us, and or things will just crumble. Like, that's literally what will happen.
And I feel like that needed to happen. The crumbling needed to happen.
Oh, you felt like it needed to happen?
Yeah, 100%.
Why do you feel like it needs to happen?
I almost felt a sense of, like, I was becoming too wrapped up in my work.
Would you say, like, obsessive? Would you use that word?
Yeah. And I know there's a sense of entrepreneurialism that has to have that obsessive nature. Like, you've got to be really passionate and obsessive about what you do. But for me, it just was going a little bit too far in the wrong direction. So I like to recognize that season with a crumbling of God going, I don't really like how this is going. So I'm going to put this authorized pain in to bring things back into realignment. And he did.
So, Romanah, what I want to ask is, how do you manage business and your 2 little ones?
Chaos. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's chaos. And I remember having Camise Davis on my podcast, and we were speaking about motherhood and business and balance. And I remember Cam saying, quote, there is no rotted balance, because there isn't. There's no balance. Like, some weeks will require me to be more present as a mom. And then some weeks will require me to be more present as a CEO and a business owner. So take, for example, putting it practically, last week was a heavy week for business. So I saw the kids in pockets and I felt it. So come the weekend, I was like, I don't want to do nothing. I had a thing that we were doing with Eloquent in Manny. I actually brought them. I was like, you know what? Some things, they just have to come along for the ride so they can be a part of my world. But it really is a juggle.
Do you feel guilt sometimes?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's managing that guilt now. So sometimes it's like, okay, I'm not going to mash myself up with that guilt because I'm working so hard for them.
Okay.
But also I'm working so hard for me because I had a life before you two. And I had a life that I enjoyed. Yeah. So whilst I love them to bits, and I believe God has assigned me as their mom to serve them and to nurture them, I also am here to do the will of my life as well, which is super important. So that guilt quickly gets put to the wayside because I'm like, man, you're still a woman that has needs and has passions and dreams. My sole purpose is not just to be a mom. Yeah.
So I came across one of your TikTok videos the other day.
Yeah.
And you was talking about, well, I don't know if it's TikTok or Instagram, I can't remember, but you were saying something around the lines of people assuming just because you're not a single parent, things aren't as difficult, something like that. Can you quote, what you were saying? And
yeah, I love this. So what I was basically sharing is that a lot of Black mothers have done this alone. And I come from, my mom had pockets of being a single mom, and she did an incredible job with me and my brother, and has lots of friends that are also single moms as well. So I recognise and I can relate with it, and I can very much appreciate it as well. But that just was never my portion. I always remember having kids and being like, I don't want to do this alone. Like, I want to do it as a partnership. I want to have a village to support. But I also feel like if you're not a single mom, it's kind of like, well, why are you struggling? And some of the comments I've had just from family or friends is, well, you and Oma are doing it together, so you've got support. Because when I did it, I was on my own. And I just don't like it.
It's like, just don't compare.
Yeah, I don't like it. I've got married friends, I've got single friends, and I've got friends that are in relationships. And we all struggle in some aspect. It might not be the same struggle, but it doesn't mean that parenting is easy because we're doing it as a partnership rather than alone. And it just annoyed me that if you're not a single mother, it's kind of like, oh, you shouldn't be struggling as much. Like, you know, you've got 2 people in the house to support. When I did it, I only had 1. So, yeah, that was my little rant, just to say whether women are married or in a relationship or single, they should still be getting their flowers because it's still hard, regardless of whether you're doing it alone or as a partnership.
Did you receive any backlash on that?
Do you know what? Everyone was jumping on, like, finally someone's talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah. I was quite taken aback by the response, really. And it was a lot of women that were either in a relationship or married that were like, thank you for speaking out for us. Like, we still struggle with mom and guilt, or we still struggle with being overwhelmed because people assume because we're in a relationship that we're good. And oftentimes it's just not that.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up with one more question.
Yeah.
And this is kind of deep.
Okay.
But basically, Do you feel like sometimes you don't tend to your kids' needs or give them the attention that you should be giving them?
Yeah, all the time. So my son is just like the clingiest thing I've experienced to man.
No, listen, boys are
These
clingy.
boys.
My son's dragging me around the house, like he won't let go of me. He wants some sort of physical contact with me, like
all the time.
all the time.
It's absolutely exhausting. Like my daughter was not like that. She's quite independent. She's like a mini man, so she would just get on with what she's doing, play independently and whatever. My son don't play independently. He wants to play with me all the time, and sometimes it's like, Mal, I just don't have that time. Like, Mommy's trying to send an email. I'm trying to work. And
listen, my son will put his big head right in front of the laptop and just be typing. Like he's typing, bashing the thing. I'm just like, okay, I can't do this. Forget it. Let me shut the laptop. I'll do this when you're sleeping.
And that's what I've had to adopt. That they're different kids and they need different versions of me. So where Rain could be in our world and I could be working and she'd be there, Mally's like, no. I don't want that version of you. I want my mom in her full entirety. I don't want my working mom. So I've had to compartmentalize when I work, when I'm a mom, and try and not marry those worlds together because my kids are too needy for me to do both. Yeah, too needy.
You know what's crazy? I came across a video the other day and I was like, damn, I felt a bit hit. But they were basically saying, like, you know, like when your babies are young, you need to give them all your attention and stuff. And there's mums out here trying to do too much and this and that. And I was just thinking, like, well, this is my personal opinion. I feel like at the end of the day, everyone's situations each their own. For all you know, the mum could be building a legacy for the baby, and it doesn't matter. Like, do you get what I mean? It's up to you how you want to do things. But I just thought about it, and I was like, okay, cool. With my first, I don't know. It's different to my second. I know, obviously, you've had a different experience because, in terms of when your son was born, you know, you had quite a traumatizing experience afterwards. But I didn't feel like. With my first, I was more on everything. Do you feel like he was like that with... Well, to be honest...
Well, your second gets dashed to the wayside.
Yeah, it's like... It's even like, you know, sterilising bottles. Like, oh my gosh, I've touched the bottle. Let me put it in steriliser.
The second one is like, have it. It's on the floor, just have it.
I can't be arsed. So I'm not doing that. Even with the clothes and the organising, everything was organised now.
Yeah. Second,
things are organised, but, you know, you have your moments. It's just like...
I remember speaking to one of I call her one of my aunties. That was like my first child got the grapes cut up nice and organised into smiley face. My second child got the grapes whole. My third child had to go to the fridge and take out the whole packet. Like, it's just like that, isn't it? Our kids have to fit into our framework.
And you realise there's this picture painted, everything is perfect. But the reality isn't, everything isn't perfect. Sometimes the house is upside down. Yeah, sometimes the house is upside down.
It can't seem to get clean because we have to live in it. Yeah.
And it's constant. It's a cycle. It's constantly, for me, like my house is constantly getting messy. I'll be real.
All the time.
It's like my 1-year-old, I think to myself, how can you make so much mess? But like my life will never be the same. The other day, why do I look in my bed and I see crumbs, food crumbs? I'm like...
And how old are your kids now?
So I've got a 1-year-old and a 4-month-old.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
chaos.
Mad. Yeah, it's mad.
I hear it, chaos.
But this guy must have stepped in rice or something. He's dropped rice on the floor, stepped in rice. And now the rice is in my bed. I'm like, too far.
Are you sleeping?
Too far. Yeah, I do, you know. To be honest, like, my 4-month-old sleeps for quite long. And to be honest, what I do, he does have formula now, but at night time, I can't be asked to get up and make bottles. And plus, he likes the breast for comfort. So I'll just put him on the boob. I go straight back to sleep. I really hope someone from the NHS ain't watching because they might report me. But seriously, I'll just put him
sleep.
Yeah, I'll go back to sleep.
That was the only way to
when
sleep.
You're lying down and then you got the bed and you're just comfy.
Absolutely.
And for me, normally, it's like my left side's more comfortable. I think. Yeah.
I hear you,
but
sis.
Breastfeeding is a blessing. It is. So it doesn't really feel like you're waking up. Whereas before, with my first, he wasn't really breastfed like that as much as this one. He wasn't much attached because I kind of left it and I went straight to formula. But I was getting up to make bottles. At one point, I brought the kettle upstairs. I was like, nah. And
then we had the sterilising thing on the bedside table. Absolutely.
But there is a difference. Like, you know, when you're putting the baby on the boob, compared to when you're making formula bottles. Like when you make formula, okay, I'm actually opening my eyes, I'm using my hands, I'm getting up, I'm doing this. And like my first, I was absolutely exhausted.
Are you feeling a little bit more?
I feel better now.
Good.
The like breastfeeding's really helped. Good. It's made a difference.
Good.
And sorry, one last thing. What I was gonna say is did you find like you was eating loads of takeaways or anything like that, or was that just me?
Listen, cooking? What's cooking?
No, listen. With my first, I had every minute there was a Mackey's bag, there was Chinese, there was this. God knows how much I
goes
spent
out
on
the
just
window.
delivery.
And then 6 months in, I'm like, okay, I really should get back to some sort of dancing
and then I'm
gym.
looking at how much I spent on just...
Yeah.
It's crazy. And nowadays, minimum you're paying is like £25 for a takeaway.
It's really... Listen, in the end, I ended up with my second asking my family to just cook and drop it off.
Yeah.
So we patterned my mum from like Monday to Tuesday, then my nan,
you
Wednesday
had it all
to
planned
Thursday.
out,
We had to pattern it because
Sometimes,
meals are crazy.
Yeah, I'll be ordering takeaway and I'll be like, I should have just went out to eat. Do you get what I'm saying?
Because it's that expensive.
Yeah. But Romanah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a
Nice
pleasure speaking to you, and we definitely have to meet up again. We have to.
We need to do part 2. We'll have you come on mine next.
But thank you. We might have to bring the babies on.
We're not doing that. You won.
But thank you so much.
Thank you, Sin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for watching Diary of a Young Mom. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Let's talk about it.